to Mr. 96's Pop Reviews. My name is Mr. 96. It's taken a while for me to give my first official pop review of 2021, but frankly, I don't think I've missed much considering how slow everything's been. Really, up until last month, the story of the Hot 100 this year was just driver's license and nothing else. I mean, I could have done a quick review of this several weeks ago, but it honestly would have made for a boring video because I don't really have anything new to add. The song itself was in my category of solid, but not really worth discussing, and knowing my history, that doesn't really make for an interesting episode. As a result, I really had to dig deep into the Hot 100 to figure out if there was anything I could chime in on without feeling like I'm regurgitating other people's talking points. So after weeks of trying to come up with material about Olivia Rodrigo, I instead decided to tap out and talk about another breakout artist with a big hit. Only this guy had the backing of a superstar. With Bruno Mars, I don't need to say much because I'm sure you all know who he is, but I want to spend time highlighting the other artist on the track as, like Olivia Rodrigo, this is his first major hit. Paak is a rapper/singer who's been around the music industry for a while now, but not really in the pop sphere. His blend of hip-hop, old-school R&B, and soul has garnered him widespread acclaim within the industry, as he's also worked with known powerhouses such as Kendrick Lamar, Dr. Dre, and Andre 3000. Basically, he's one of those acts you probably only know if you follow the Grammys, like Chloe and Halle, or Her. With Paak never really having a presence on the Hot 100 proper, it shouldn't be a surprise that his first big hit came in tandem with Bruno Mars. After all, Bruno Mars has been making retro throwback songs for the last decade now, and being the acclaimed superstar he is, he can give anyone a hit, especially if their style matches splendidly with his. On paper, their new duo Silk Sonic sounds like a genius pairing. In many ways, I'm surprised they hadn't collaborated sooner. But hey, better late than never, right?
What you doing? What you doing? Where you at? Where you at? Oh, you got plans. You got plans. Don't say that. Shut your trap.
As we begin, the music sets an exquisite tone that's reminiscent of classic soul. When we think of soul, we think of the vocals, but soul is also characterized with the pristine rhythm and blues, hence the name R&B. The first verse starts off very nicely, with Bruno providing backup vocals, immediately showcasing their chemistry, but Anderson displays his own talents through his effortless delivery.
We should be dancing, romancing in the east wing and the west wing of this mansion.
That pleasant mix of vocals and drum work provides splendid build-up as Anderson passes the torch to Bruno, who comes in strong but also plays it smooth as the chorus kicks in.
I'ma leave the door open.
Now that's a clever line. The song softens up while Bruno says to the girl that he'll leave the door open. It's not forceful in any way and puts the power in her hands. I can get down with that. When I listen to this, my brain's telling me that it's a splendidly produced tune that's sonically pleasing to the ear. But is that how I truly feel?
So sweet, so tight, I won't bite unless you like.
When looking at the entire composition, the best part of the track is Paak. Being that their group name is Silk Sonic, Anderson appropriately excels with his smooth and silky tone, rightly directing our attention to the lovely music around him. Like most love ballads, this song works the best when it sits back to establish the atmosphere. So if I'm being really honest, I'm not as big of a fan of Bruno Mars's pre-chorus.
I ain't playing no games, every word that I say is coming straight from the heart.
When he comes in, I feel like the tone sort of shifts. Bruno Mars is no stranger to coming in aggressive when singing, but the song undergoes a sudden key change that's unwarranted and makes the transition feel awkward. On one hand, you have Paak opening the song like, "Hey baby, how you doing?" While Bruno's jumping in like, "I ain't playing no games, girl!"
I'ma leave the door open.
When he gets to the main chorus, he sounds much better as the song reverts back to its original key and soft tone, but it then brings up the question of why he had to sound so dramatic in the pre-chorus to begin with. Because the more I think about it, the more I'm starting to believe that this song sounds good in spite of Bruno Mars rather than because of it. As the song transitions from Anderson to Bruno, Bruno comes in with his dramatic entrance because that's what Bruno Mars does. It's worked in the past, so why change it now? It's a Bruno Mars song, so Bruno gotta do what he gotta do. But does he really? And you may be thinking, of course he does, Mr. 96. It's a soul tune, so he's gotta sound soulful by giving his 110%. Sure, he's giving his 110%, but is that effort being used in the proper manner? I know it sounds like I'm nitpicking, but I think it's fair for me to criticize his part in the sense that it doesn't exactly flow with the rest of the song in a cohesive manner. Don't get me wrong, I'm always down for a very good retro tune, but over the last several years of reviewing music, I've only now started to realize that I'm kind of burnt out on throwbacks. As much as I praise Anderson .Paak in this song, I don't think that's enough for me to give this rapturous praise when it's ultimately succeeding on the merits of yesterday's music rather than the performers themselves. I listened to more than plenty of Anderson .Paak's music in preparation for this, and the man is undoubtedly a gifted and talented musician. But what does Leave the Door Open do to make me engaged for more than a listen? As far as I can tell, executives realized that his music garnered a similar audience to Bruno Mars's music, so the chart said to put these two together in a group to get a #1 hit. Of the songs I've listened to from the guy, the best one I've heard is Make It Better featuring the legendary Smokey Robinson. Not only is it a true throwback soul tune, but it sounds like one directly made for his significant other. In other words, it sounds authentic. But when I listen to Leave the Door Open, it's a big hit because it's retro enough to garner some form of nostalgia from boomer radio listeners who think Lil Baby sounds too unpleasant. Like, I listen to it and I think, okay, it sounds conventionally competent and the artists involved are clearly those who respect the classics, but do I want to play this over and over? Not really, no. On the other hand, I can listen to songs like Levitating and Physical by Dua Lipa multiple times without feeling burnt out. Does the 80s sound help? Sure, but at the end of the day, I love them because of Dua Lipa. It's her voice, her identity, her style. The reason why people still love songs like Locked Out of Heaven and Treasure is because despite the obvious callbacks, they were still Bruno Mars songs at their core. It still consists of his fingerprints in the same way his old music did. If he's going to double down on more retro-sounding songs for the rest of his career, he can't just rely on nostalgic music alone to get an obligatory pass, no matter how technically impressive it sounds. One of the reasons I wanted to review Leave the Door Open is because I've started coming to a bit of a realization. After all these years of reviewing Bruno Mars hits, I've noticed that most of my opinions on them have not aged very well. I loved Uptown Funk when I first heard it. After the immense overplay in 2015, it got a bit tiring, but it was still a very good song. However, years after the fact, I haven't felt any desire to return to it voluntarily. An even bigger offender was his 24 Karat Magic album. In 2017, I mistakenly gave That's What I Like a 9 out of 10, as well as the number 10 slot on my top 10 best list, and that infamous error in judgment made me completely revamp my 96 scale due to how poorly that aged. Hell, if I'm being honest, it shouldn't have even been a close call, as the song's a low 7 out of 10 at most if you ask me now. Also, Dua Lipa's Future Nostalgia is a better album than 24 Karat Magic, but we don't need to go there. Another mistake I made was giving Versace on the Floor an insanely high rating. At the very least, it's better than That's What I Like, but I just got caught up in the critical hype at the time and didn't ask myself if it was something I could truly listen to on my own. Really, the only Bruno Mars song I've put on a top 10 best list that still holds up fantastically is Finesse with Cardi B. For one, 90s nostalgia is much less overplayed than 80s nostalgia, but Finesse also doesn't burn me out because it highlighted the best of New Jack Swing, which was a very underappreciated genre that never got its due respect. Cardi B's verse on the remix still kicks ass, and I'm grateful for that since the following Cardi and Bruno collab did not age well at all. Granted, I never liked that song from the beginning. But the bigger point I'm making is that record labels and corporations love to pump out throwbacks to the past because that's what worked for them before. It's quick money that gets your attention immediately, but it's not something you'll look back on since it's not representative of its current era. Why do you think Disney gets away with shitty live-action remakes of their classic films? Because they know you'll pay for that nostalgia, so shut up and give me your money. For the record, I'm not trying to say that Leave the Door Open is anywhere near as egregious as Disney. I genuinely believe Anderson .Paak loved working with Bruno Mars, and he should be happy he has a true hit. All I'm saying is that this song evokes a concerning feeling that's been brewing in media for years now. I'm aware that I don't make content as frequently as I used to, but when I review music, I don't just want to pump out quick episodes and move on. I want to analyze how the song fits within the current music landscape, as that is what warrants further discussion. And when we talk about the music industry, they will always jump on the opportunity to rehash what worked for them in the past. Just look at Ava Max's existence. Fairly recently, Ava Max put out a song, My Head and My Heart, which is very obviously a sample of the 2000s Eurodance hit All Around the World by ATC. Frankly, I have a bit of fondness for the Ava Max song since I really appreciate Eurodance, but at the same time, I can't deny that she's riding the coattails of the sample. Every time I listen to her, I don't hear a unique artist with her own brand of music. All I hear is a mouthpiece for old pop music because you like old pop music. Right, listener? When I first heard this, I honestly thought it was Zara Larsson singing, which would have been a better choice, seeing as she's actually European. Again, just more evidence that making retro music doesn't automatically make you interesting. This entire throwback conversation is what inspired me to make this episode, but what really drove me were my patron voters on Patreon who voted for me to talk about Ava Max and her song. Stay tuned until the end of the video for more information. Back to Silk Sonic, I find the song to be good, but nothing more than that. It has all the qualifications to be a popular hit, so I'm not questioning the legitimacy, but I find it hard to get attached to when it so clearly follows a media trend that's only gotten more cynical with time. Should I pin the blame solely on this song? No, the issue is far bigger than the song or either the two singers. But considering I've been burned in the past by retro throwbacks, especially from Bruno Mars, I'm gonna play it safe as I doubt this will even be an honorable mention for my best list. What I'm saying is, Bruno needs to really impress me moving forward. If he makes a jazz song better than the Torn to Battle theme, then we'll talk. But before you go, I would like to give thanks to my patrons on Patreon for suggesting I analyze My Head and My Heart by Ava Max as this episode's low charting rep. At $2 per video, you can help vote on low charting songs for me to talk about in my pop reviews, as well as songs for me to review in 2000s childhood pop. At $5 per video, you get to be listed in my Names of Fame, and at $10 per video, you get a personal shout through the heart along with Kumrai Fang, Prideful Zella, and the you say? My next video will kick off this season of 2000s childhood pop, but more importantly, you can click on the link in the description below to help vote for which song I actually review. Voting will work in a 2-round format. The first round will be just the patrons suggesting any song they want, and the suggestion I like the most will become the patron rep. In the second round, which comes much later, the patron rep will go against 3 other songs of my choice in an official poll, and whichever one wins the vote will be the song I review for 2000s childhood pop. I'll explain more of the rules in the link below, but the main point is that for only $2 per video, you get to decide which 2000 song I review as the power's in your hands. Once again, I'm Mr. 96. If you want to see more pop reviews, click the subscribe button below and tap that bell to be notified when I drop a new episode. Anyways, thank you so much for your patience, and I'll see you for 2000s childhood pop. Pop songs may come in numbers, but there's only one. 96.